All right, how you doing this morning, guys? I'm cooking myself one of my guilty pleasures that I love. Anyone who follows me on Instagram probably knows what it is. It's probably one of the most unhealthy things I eat, and it is Scrapple. For those people that aren't from like the Mid-Atlantic states, like New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, maybe even like Virginia, you probably don't know what this is. Let me get it open and I'll show you what it looks like. We'll go over a couple things that we're going to need for today. It's going to be really simple. We're going to want our cast iron frying pan. We're going to want a knife so that we can cut them down into nice little slabs. And then we're also going to need a flipper. These get to be pretty delicate, so you're going to want to make sure that you get a real good hard crispy fry on them. So first thing I'm going to do is get my pan started, because you need to have it hot, because if not, when you put it in, it's not really going to fry up well. And I forgot my ingredient of choice, butter. We're going to use a lot of that today. So I'm just going to start by opening this up. If you guys want to really know what's in Scrapple, you guys can go ahead and look it up. I'll give you the quick version, and that is, in this case, since I'm using beef Scrapple, it is all the beef products that aren't used. They all get thrown in a pot, boiled, and then they take them out. They take out all the pieces, and the thick broth that's left, they add flour, cornmeal, and buckwheat to it to get this. So some of the parts that they use are, one of the main ones that they use is the whole head. Basically, once they get done butchering the animal, they take the whole head, they put it in a pot, and they render it down. They take out all the bones and that kind of stuff, and what's left in there with the broth then turns into this. You can see here we have, I don't know if you can see it because of the reflection, you can see that there's some little chunks of meat in here and stuff like that. So it's literally everything thrown in one pot. They add the cornmeal, buckwheat, and flour, depending on what company makes it. Depends on if they just use regular flour and cornmeal, or cornmeal and buckwheat. Some use just grains. Depending on whatever part of the world or country you're from, they have a lot of Scrapple-ish products. The main one that a lot of people know of is haggis. It's basically a bunch of ground up meat. I believe it's from, I want to say it's from Germany. But they just use, it's all the leftover meat gets thrown through a grinder, gets boiled, and then thickened with some kind of a flour or some kind of a thickening agent. Some people also use a little bit of cornstarch in with the flour to help it out a little bit. So we'll get started. We want to make sure that we have our pan on probably medium. You want to heat it up slow because it's a cast iron pan. You want to make sure that, you know, you get a nice even heat on it. You don't want to overheat it real fast, because if you have cold spots in your pan, it's not going to work out well. You'll see what I mean once we get this cut up and we get the butter and get it in the pan. So a lot of places, if you go out to get it, it's primarily used as a breakfast meat. Some people make sandwiches out of them. Some people deep fry it. Some people make it in little cubes and they put batter on it and deep fry it. I like to just cook it in a lot of butter and get it a real nice hard crisp on the outside. So, and a lot of places only give you about a 1/4 inch. I'll take this whole block and probably only cut it down into 4 pieces, because that's how much I like it. So go through, cut that in half. Then we'll come through, cut this one in half. I don't know if you guys like any kind of exotic foods, but some of the other things that are kind of like this, if you can see in here how you have all the little pieces of like the gelatinous stuff and the pieces of meat and everything, it almost resembles somewhat of like a head cheese. So sorry, just had to rinse off my hands, guys. And my pan's just about ready. So I'll be back in a second once I get you guys in place. Okay guys, here we are, we're back. I got you over top my frying pan. Now, like I said, we're going to be using a lot of butter. It's almost like deep frying it in butter. You want to have your pan just to the smoking point for the butter. Because what's going to happen, as soon as you put this in there, it's going to draw the heat out of your cast iron pan. I like to use the cast iron, it just gives it a better flavor. And one of the other things that I use it for is it helps keep the temperature more even across the whole pan. And if you were using a thinner pan, like say my stainless steel pan, as soon as you put the meat in there, it would drop the temperature so far it would just stick to it. So want to make sure we get it a lot of butter in there, and you'll see I'll push it around. Whenever you do anything like this, make sure that you drop everything away from you, because you don't want to burn yourself. And looks like we can only fit 3 in here. The good part about these is they don't really shrink up that much because all the stuff was already previously cooked. So basically what holds this all together is the cornmeal and all the gelatin and everything that's in there. So once you start to cook these, what ends up happening is they'll get soft. You'll notice when I go to, in a couple minutes, I'll move them around so that way I can, keep the pan getting hot. Because right now I'm really soaking a lot of the heat out of the pan. Because you can't really cook these when they're warm or room temperature, because they just get to be too floppy and they're brittle. So that's another reason I like to have them thick. So we'll just sit here and watch stuff fry. The reason I like to use this flipper is because you can get completely under it and you can fully support it. You'll notice when I flip them over, I'll use the piece that I'm not cooking. I'll scoop them up, and then you'll notice I'll flip them really gently, because if not, they'll break all apart. A lot of people say that I cook it too long, but I like it to be really nice and crisp on the outside. And a lot of the parts that are in here, like they have the liver, the heart, the tongue, and stuff like that, and a bunch of other stuff. So you want to be able to bring some of that flavor out, and when it comes out, it gets in your butter. And when it does get in your butter, then when you flip it over, it's kind of like you're adding flavor to your other side that's already in it. So it coats it really good. So I'm going to want to move it around a little bit so you can see how soft they're already getting. Take that one, move that over there. You can see if you fidget with them too much how they start to break up. Just move it, keep the heat on the pan, make sure that you're not going to burn your butter. And then you just sit there and let them cook. I want to make sure when they're done that they're a really dark, hard fried brown color. You'll see it when I flip them. I'll probably even check them a couple times to make sure they're the fry that I like. The harder and the crispier of a fry you get, the better off you'll be when you try and flip them. And the way that I love to eat these, I'll take them, I'll put them right on my plate, and then I put sunny side up eggs over top, and I use the yolk kind of like a gravy when I eat them. It's just wonderful. Alright, let's go in and check them, move them a little bit. Once they start to get a good fry on the one side, you can slide them around the pan a little bit better. That's another reason why I like to use a cast iron frying pan, is they really, they have a tendency to stick. If you're not going to use a good seasoned cast iron frying pan, I would definitely recommend that you use some kind of a Teflon pan. The only problem with that is the Teflon pans are normally thin and they cool down a lot, so when you put it in, you still have the tendency for it to stick because you just depleted it of a lot of the heat because they're a real thin wall. Or they're made of aluminum or copper that are designed to be very heat or non-heat acceptable. So let's see if we can get these flipped. There we go. We got a real nice, hard, crispy side on it. Let me slide my pan. Be careful if you're using cast iron. You don't want to burn yourself because the pans do get hot. You can see I went in a little aggressive on that and I broke that corner off. Now we just sit here and watch them fry. One of the big things that I like about this is you get a lot of the real earthy flavors from all the animal that they use. They make this pork, they make it chicken, they make it turkey, and they also make it beef, which is the one I'm using. The beef is a little less greasy, I've noticed, and the turkey is a little less greasy also. The pork just doesn't deal with my stomach all that well. It's a little heavy for me. I've also noticed in my older age that I can't really eat pork anymore, so I'm glad that they came out with the different options, and they all taste about the same, so it's just your preference on whatever you want to eat. But I do like the beef. It tastes really good, and you get a lot of the, I guess you can say, organ taste. You get the flavor from the liver, from the heart, the kidney. You get all that good flavor that comes out of a lot of the organ meat. I know a lot of people don't like it, but a lot of people that have had it, they like it until they know what it's made of. So if anybody out there doesn't know what it is, or has never had it, leave a comment below and I'll see if I can send you a link to explain it a little bit better. One of the main areas that this is made is by the Amish and the Mennonites in Lancaster, PA. That's one of the reasons why it's in this local area. A lot of other people have done their twist on it in the South. They do something, I forgot the name of it, I apologize, And then other countries, like I said, you have the haggis and, you know, different things like that. So, you know, it's one of them things that back in the 20s when we were going through the Depression, they had to use all the meat that was available. They didn't let anything go to waste. Bones would go to the dogs, all the marrow and the drippings and all the fats from cooking the meat would be used to cook other things such as eggs or even the vegetables. So that's when this came to be really popular. I believe they started making this in the mid 1800s. So we'll have to see how these are going now. Yep, not good enough yet. At this point, I don't have to move them around the pan. I'm just checking them. They're not the brownness that I like. Not yet. And I'm probably going to be flipping these over again and browning them a little bit more, because you can see some of these lower spots that don't have that real hard crisp on it. And that's what I like. I love it. It's just wonderful. Alright, instead of boring you guys with this, I'll come back when they're almost done and I'll show you what I do when I take them out of the pan. Okay guys, here we are. We're back. I flipped them and now you can see how you have that real nice gold, not even golden, it's past golden. It's on the verge of burnt. But that's really just all the oils and greases that came out. They get in the pan and they just fry. It's a real hard fry on them. One of the reasons I'm making this video is for my wife's brother's stepchild, I guess you could say. It would be, I believe that would make him my nephew-in-law, for Logan Strauss. He's going to be coming out to visit us in a little bit, as in like in a year. And I sent him some of this because he lives out in Oregon, so they can't get it. They have to actually order it online, and it has to be shipped and everything else. So he's a big fan of it. That's one of the things that he wanted to do when he came out to visit. He wanted me to make him Scrapple. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take this out, put it on a paper towel just to blot it a little bit. But you can see how much residual, whoops, don't want that to happen. You want to make sure you don't get burnt through the paper towel. You can, the proper way to do it would be to take a paper towel and a paper plate, set it on there, and you can see how it's a real nice golden color. And I just love it. It's some of the one of my favoriteest foods. Most favoriteest, bestest, whatever you want to call it. So there you go. That's how I make Scrapple. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll be back in a couple minutes. I'm going to make my egg, you know, in my stainless steel frying pan, because that's the way I like to have them. And I'll show you how I plate it once I get the eggs cooked. Hope you enjoyed the video so far, guys. Alright, here we are, guys. I'm back. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video so far. So I'm going to show you how I like to eat them and how I plate them for breakfast. Here we go. There you go. Let's try to get them out here where you can see it better without shadows. You can see I have the Scrapple underneath. Two nice cooked eggs on top. And there you go. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If there's any questions that you have, you know, leave a comment down below. I'll also leave a link to how I fry my eggs, so that way that can help you guys out also. And don't forget, if you could, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think about the video. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feedback, positive, negative, don't hesitate to let me know. So, hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget, any day that you can learn something, any kind of knowledge is always going to be the key. Just remember, guys, knowledge is your edge every day. See you next time, guys. Keep cooking.